Okay, I want to address something that I saw on YouTube in regards to a question on why we are not hearing from a lot of Black farmers during the midst of this economic decline here in the United States. A lot of Black farmers have had to learn to be self-sufficient without government support. So in my opinion, that's why you're not really hearing from a lot of Black farmers right now, because there's not a lot of us, and a lot of us don't have loans like that. There's been a push, I know, within my circle of people to make sure that your land is paid off and that you are not relying upon the government in order to feed your family. Yeah, that's just my opinion. But what we can do is go and talk to Dad and see what Dad has to say about all of this. Yeah, so let's go check on Dad, like I was saying, and have him give his opinion on the state of Black farmers here in the United States, because you don't hear too many of them, like I said, complaining online. And maybe he has an opinion that is slightly different from my own. I said what I had to say, but I think Dad might have something to add to the conversation. So, Dad, I was talking about the Black farmers and what's going on with some of the farmers, like what's going on in Nebraska. Why do you personally think that Black farmers are not online complaining about what's happening with the government and government policy and complaining about losing money right now?
I think the Black farmers, they're going back to old school. They learn by now how to keep the man out their pocket. You see, they learn to pay for things cash. They learn to pay off the house, pay off the farms. The government always talk about subsidies, different types of subsidies. When they sign up for the program, we as a group don't get it, you know. It goes to other people. Be honest with you, they go to the white farmers, the Asian farmers, and the system is set up for the Black people, but the Black people don't get it. They don't get the money. They'll find a loophole in there and a heartbeat for those farmers not to get the subsidies that they need. So the only thing left for the Black farmer is just to keep out of debt. Stop borrowing money.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Eugene Stories. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing fine. There's a video that I want us to address, really important. Right now, we are seeing a lot of farmers being in a predicament. White farmers, to be specific, being in a predicament. First, you know very well, we've been having issues with Nebraska farmers. We've been having issues with Texas farmers. And all from the observation that I've seen a lot of white farmers complaining. But at this time, I had a chance of visiting a channel called Tiffany's Farm, and she shared some insights on why she thinks Black farmers are not complaining in the midst of all these chaos that white farmers are going through. First, not speaking about how tariffs really affected, farming, generally agriculture in the United States, because it affected so many farmers in a negative way. And also, to begin with that, it's also important to recognize the fact or the plight of Black farmers in their knowledge in bringing all these ideas to the United States. First, you need to understand that when slavery happened, we had a group of Black farmers that came as a result of slavery. I'm not saying all Black people, but remember, these farmers who used to work on this farm developed a skill and had ways of, making it successful even in the adversaries. And now all these Black families that have the farming skills or the agricultural skills passed it to other farmers, and as a result, we saw a group of Black farmers coming up. And having this group of Black farmers, because remember, when abolition of slavery happened, now people started working for not really free. People started working And while black people started working, they developed the skills of owning and having and plowing these farms. What happened? This is what happened. We started seeing white farmers removing black farmers from their farms. However, fast forward to today, we are seeing a lot of white people going through a lot of challenges. As a result, I want us to watch this video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts at the end of it all. If you're watching us for the first time, kindly consider subscribing to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. If you're watching us for the first time, you know what to do. Thank you to the channel, and let's watch the video. I'll be back where I'll be sharing my insights in regards to this. Let's watch the video.
If you're gonna have a bad crop season, you know what I'm saying? You know, make sure that everything is paid for you won't go in the hole. You know, keep the man out your pocket. That's what you have to do, and you come out ahead. But if you come and get this loan for that loan for this, that loan for that, you're gonna be in a terrible situation. Terrible situation.
So that's what Dad has to say about that. So he pretty much agreed with me that a lot of discriminatory practices have kept black farmers from participating in a lot of programs. And that's why I don't think you actually get to see them complaining online like that, because first of all, they don't get a lot of the things through the NRCS. They don't get to participate in some of the programs to relieve some of the expenses that happens on your farm, like if you need to have a fence or add a well in order to continue in business. Another thing, Dad, right? Dad, remember that black farmers are not plentiful like they used to be, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot less farmers now.
That's what I was telling you. The black farmers is in a survival mode.
Is in a survival mode.
So if you're in a survival mode, pay off your overhead. Pay off your overhead. That's the equipment, that your farm. Make sure you have your taxes paid. Make sure your house is paid for. Don't stop going and getting loans on your property, on your asset. You know.
I've seen people get loans on their house or their land in order to buy a car.
Yeah.
That's some crazy stuff.
I think that when I talk to different farmers and different people in business, some of them is business illiterate. They don't know the difference between an asset and a liability.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't know the difference between things that appreciate and things that don't appreciate. So, you know, if you don't know what's going on, ask somebody that knows what's going on. Always have somebody that have a business mind, and let's talk to them, a general conversation, and help you keep on track. Because once you lose your house and your farm, it's hard to come back now.
And it affects generations upon generations. Hey, but before I finish the topic about it, let me show you what Dad is currently doing. See, this is what Dad is doing. He's putting down some pine needles. And Dad, what you think about the plants that we planted a year ago?
Oh man, I had made a previous short video, and I keep on forgetting the names of them. But
Iris.
Okay, and I love how they come out. They're very, very beautiful. You know, I love myself some plants. I love them. I love the color of them. I love earth tone colors in here. You know, earth tone colors, different unusual colors. I just love them. I just fall in love with them. I could just sit in a chair with a cold glass of iced tea and just look at the different plants and listen to the birds, you know, fresh air, and just enjoy out here in nature, you know.
Yeah.
But all of them coming along pretty good. This one, look at him. Look at the buds on this one right here. See how it's coming along right here? You see? This one right here is moving fast. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more that's coming up pretty late. But this one, look at it. See the buds coming up?
Yes.
It's really looking nice. Really looking nice.
Dad loves his plants.
Yep.
And we try our best to take care of them.
The thing is, when you get, I hear guys in the 50s and the 60s, they say they senior citizens and just like that. You have to keep yourself in shape and enjoy nature. You know, eat the right food. Come out here and plant you some plants on your property. You know, and keep yourself active all the time, and stay away from them. When people tell me, "Oh, my back hurt, my leg hurt," you know, I can't complain like that. You know, I get up, exercise in the morning, and get ready for the day. But you can see how the plants come along.
Yeah, they're coming along beautiful.
And you know, that last video I made about
on your channel.
Oh man, I had so many subscribers, it was a shame. There's a whole lot, and especially the women. The women just love these plants right here.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They
and it's nothing like the color purple.
Nothing like the color purple. Okay, look here. When I get through with this right here, follow me to the other side. Let me show our community the other plants that we have, okay?
Okay. So we do have them on both sides of the property up towards the front. Because you know we're very visual people. We like to have our things looking beautiful.
Yep, coming along real nice.
Coming along real nice.
And what we're gonna start doing later on, we're gonna get the straw. We got a whole lot of pine trees in the back right there.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start buying straws. And we're gonna start
utilizing the straw that's on our own property.
Oh yeah. And that way we'll save a whole lot of money.
So we're walking to the other side of the property so that Dad can put more pine straw down. Because he really loves the flowers that we picked out. I'm the one that picks them out. I go and say, you know what? Nothing like the color purple. There's nothing like the color pink. And that's what I do. And then Dad would be down with it. So I'll pick out the flowers and he'll put the flowers into the ground for me. So these are the other ones which are on higher ground, and they're actually blooming a lot better than the ones on the other side. These are one of our favorite plants. Dad, look at them. They look impressive.
I say these ones on this side of the property, although it's higher, right? It's doing better than the ones on the other side of the property.
That's true.
It is.
Very impressed.
I like that color. Oh man. Very, very, very cool. Coming along.
We're coming along.
We came a long ways though. It's kind of funny how these plants right here die and come right back out.
But Dad, look at them against the farm fence.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a sight to behold. Like, look at that. It's beautiful. And like I said, there is nothing like the color purple. And I think you'll agree that these are some beautiful, beautiful plants. So, like, we have the same kind of design on this side of property we also have on the other side. So after Dad finishes this portion of it, he and I will sit down and finish the conversation together about what we were talking about in regards to who is talking most online about the economy versus who is very, very silent. And you hardly see any videos about them talking right now or us talking right now. So we'll finish that conversation up after Dad finishes putting the pine needles down for us.
You think fine, you don't have to step down on them, you know?
Yeah, you can just drop them.
You drop them, they'll take care of it.
That's true. The USDA says as long as there's 4 inches of mulch or pine needles, you don't have to worry about weeds coming through it. They did some experiments to verify. just to finish our conversation about why you don't see a lot of black farmers online complaining about what's going on with the USDA and farm benefits and how they're getting ready to lose their farm. Like I said, a lot of it is systematic, and a lot of us didn't. First of all, the decrease in farmers have been happening since 1990. Like, it's real bad. I think it's only 1% of farmers that's black right now that's registered with the USDA, and they're black. There's only 1% compared to where it used to be, what, I think 13%. So it's dropped substantially, like ridiculously low. A lot of black farmers have lost their land through eminent domain, through systematic issues. And so there's, number one, there's not a lot of black farmers. And number two is when it's time to give out benefits or to help people to further their farm, black farmers are often overlooked. They don't allow black farmers to get this. It's just a fact. There's been a history of discrimination, so they're not able to get loans and other benefits that come from the USDA to continue in business. And so that's another issue. And so you don't see a lot of black farmers relying on the USDA like that. So they're not going to be online complaining like you have other farmers that's out in Nebraska and other parts of the United States who are white farmers. You're not going to see black farmers talking like that because, number one, most of them are living debt free. They're not involved in the programs from the USDA, and there's not a lot of us here in the United States. So a thing that I wanted to kind of like bring up, what my dad has always taught me, and he has said it recently out there where we were putting the pine needles around the iris, the bearded iris. Dad always has told me, and because of my accounting background and because Dad has spoken this into my ear so often, he always talks about keeping the man out of your pocket. Mm-hmm. And when he says that, I think a lot of people think, oh, he's talking about the white man, keep the white man out your pocket. It's more than just, I guess, that. It's more of a systematic, like, keep the government, keep the corporations, keep the system from putting you in a position of debt where you are not able to maneuver during times of decline. And I think that's what you mean, right, Dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in my days, we had farmers that really couldn't read and write, but they had vast acres of land, like the Majors, the Pace, Molly Polymaze. Yeah, and you can name all of them. You know, we had so many. We're in the Goose community, you know, in the Homestead community, and the Perrine community. We had, but their thing was to keep the man out of their pocket. And if a person that can't read and write know how to keep the man out of the pocket, what do you think about it? Yeah, think about an educated person, you know? So we have to go back to the old school and stop getting all these loans and keep ourselves update with the laws, the new laws coming out, and pay your property tax, pay your property tax, pay your property tax. And another thing, set up your property with a trust fund.
That way it bypasses probate.
Yeah. And do these
Keep
things.
Keep the system out of your business. Like
Yeah. And then if you have a farm, get the family together on a monthly basis and talk about business, you know? Just have, hey, every third Sunday, every fourth Sunday, we'll come to the house and have a sit down and we talk about business and finance, you know? We got to start doing that, you know? Because if we don't do it, then ain't nobody else going to help us, you know? So minimize your the man in your pocket, pay off your know the difference between things that appreciate and things that don't appreciate.
That appreciate, right?
Yeah. And make sure you understand the difference. And try to pay off your house, try to pay off your land.
Don't have a car note. Even the type of cars that we buy, they're salvage units. We never buy no new car off the lot.
No new cars, no.
Salvage units are the best.
Yeah.
I had my salvage unit for years, and it only cost me $5,000. My son has a salvage unit. everybody has a salvage unit. So we don't buy new cars because we know that as soon as you drive them off the lot, they depreciate. So we do a lot to minimize overhead. And I think that's what's going on, why you don't see a lot of particularly like black farmers online complaining about what's happening in this economy, because you're not going to hear them talk about getting ready to lose their land.
And for the equipment, back in the days, black farmers know how to network. You know what I mean by network? If they had a tractor, they let another black farmer use that tractor, you know?
It's still going on today.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to go back to that.
When we went to visit Loretta and Mr. Sam,
down in Augusta?
Yeah, in Augusta, they have a network
A bad network.
Oh, their network was really good,
awesome.
with younger farmers and also neighboring farmers all helping each other, and they're all black, and so they're relying on each other for support and growth.
Yeah.
So yeah, tractors are involved in that, and you know, when one person don't have something, the other person does. So there's a community of support.
I remember when my daughter first brought this property, and people was talking about negativity, and they didn't see the beauty of it. Now they see the beauty of it, and they're upset like hell. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, whatever you decide to do, you pray about it, you know, and listen to yourself, and you go forward, you know? There's the people back in the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, the 20s could do what they did. We could do even better if we stop this mess around, you know what I'm saying? Concentrate on what we put here to do. Right. And we'll be able to go to the next level.
And stay away from them loans.
Yeah. You know.
Because if you have loan on your land and then loan on your house and then loan on your equipment, I think you're guaranteed to fail.
Yeah, that money,
in this system.
Yeah, that money sounds good, you know what I'm saying, when you get it. But when you get ready to pay it back, it's a headache.
Yeah, it's definitely a headache.
You know what I'm saying? You know?
So that's just our opinion, why you don't see a lot of black farmers online complaining right now during the state of this economy with the tariffs and everything that's going on. That's just our personal belief. We want to give you our perspective while all this conversation is happening around us about different farmers in different parts of the United States. So this is just our opinion. Let us know if we're right. I don't know. But this is just our thoughts on the matter. So thank you for listening to us. Please like, comment,
and subscribe, and please start your own garden. Please do that for yourself.
Yes. Grow where you are. He's going to make sure he put that point in. Grow where you are. Okay. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Sisters, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, I'm your host and your presenter at the same time, Eugene Stories. This is a discussion that I feel like it's really, really important. And it is at this time that we need to sit down and really have a great discussion in regards to this, because I really feel like it's important for us to always come and talk about this. These things are affecting the United States big time. While we are seeing a lot of disparities when it comes to farming between white farmers and black farmers, remember, historically, black farmers have gone through a lot of things. Predatory landing, black people not getting these credit facilities that white farmers got. But you might ask yourself, we are seeing white farmers complaining today, and it's getting even worse. It started with Nebraska. Today I'm seeing Texas, because the ICE raids that are affecting all these immigrants is really affecting the people who are working at the farm. And this as an advice to the agricultural sector in general. So, people are asking this question: why is it that we are not seeing black farmers complaining? And I had to do some research, go out there and, look out and see really what's really happening. Now, the first thing that I came to realize is historical dispossession and marginalization of black farmers. Remember, black farmers in the United States have long faced systemic discrimination, particularly in the United States, in land ownership and access to credit. And I think I started by talking about this. During the 20th century, black farmers were systematically pushed off their land through combination of legal manipulation, racist violence, and denial of government support. As a result, the numbers plummeted from nearly 1 million in 1920 to fewer than 50,000 today. This historical disfranchisement means that few black farmers today operate large-scale commercial farms that rely heavily on immigrant labor like their white counterparts. Since they were pushed and it forced them to work for themselves. There's one thing that I need to note, and I think I started talking about it in the introductory part of the video. Remember when black farmers, not black farmers, but black people were pushed to these settlements and started working in the farms, they developed these skills because this is a skills that they developed over time. And the skills, they passed these skills to the young generation, right? When they passed the skills to the young generation, now you know what happened. Black farmers had techniques of even going on with farming, even with the adversary weathers. They had their own ways that they mastered from many years of slavery. Now, after the abolition of slavery, right, black people started working on their farms. And this scared white farmers because while black farmers were doing super well, black farmers started feeling like, okay, now this is what is happening. What do we need to do? Let's chase them out of this land. And using political manipulation, since you know that black people didn't have a lot of rights, at least as compared to today, black farmers were pushed and the lands were taken. And this minimized the number of farmers in the United States. The number of farmers reduced enormously from millions to today around 52,000 farmers in the United States. And this showed you, even with these few farmers that remain, they still have the skills because they know that the government is not theirs. They know that there is a competition that they are facing from white farmers who also wanted to dominate or to have what is called monopoly, right? I'm also going to be talking about scale of farming operation and labor needs. Most black farmers today tend to operate smaller farms with limited acreage and often work the land themselves or with family labor. This is in the contrast to white-owned commercial farms, particularly Midwest and South, which depend heavily on seasonal or year-round immigrant workforce. Because of their small scale, black farmers are generally less reliant on large volumes of labor that will be directly impacted by mass deportation or immigration crackdowns. A lot of black farmers are doing what is called subsistence farming, right? And this is a type of farming that the general product that they get from the farms or the produce that they get from the farms are used to sustain the family. Maybe just a small piece could be sold, but they don't depend on that because they can produce their own foods. For example, Chief and his farm, as you've seen. This is really important. Why? Because when you're doing subsistence farming, what does it mean? It means that you don't need labor from outside. This is as compared to those white farmers that accrued large amount of farms. They accrued large amount of farms, and what did they do with this large amount of farms? This is what they did. They started paying immigrants who are undocumented, or they didn't even really care about if they are documented. They just wanted cheap labor. That's what they wanted. And when they wanted cheap labor, this is what happened. Now, when the crackdown of undocumented immigrants is starting, white farmers are lived at a really, really serious point when they need to make the right decision, right? So that also explains why we're not seeing black farmers complaining. I'm also going to be talking about structural racism in agricultural policy. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, you're not hearing this for the first time, has a long track record of denying black farmers loans, subsidies, and access to technical assistance. Black farmers, this has prevented many black farmers from expanding their operations and mechanizing, leaving them marginalized within the agricultural sector. Consequently, black farmers were largely excluded from building these kinds of agribusiness models that are now affected by labor shortages due to immigration policy changes. Remember, when you can't get loans, when you cannot get credits, it means that you cannot expand your farm. And when white farmers expanded their farm, it means that they had to employ people because they had the monies from the credit that they got to employ, pay these farmers. Well, when black people didn't have this, they maintained this small piece of land. That's why, again, you're seeing black farmers not complaining. I'll go ahead and talk about media amplification of whiteness as default. This is always in the middle of everything. White farmers' concerns are amplified more readily or rapidly in the mainstream media due to racial bias and historical construction of American farmer as white. Their suffering is more frequently seen as legitimate or newsworthy. When white farmers complain about the consequences of Trump-era immigration policies such as ICE raids or tariffs, it becomes a national story. Black farmers' challenges, by contrast, often goes unreported or framed as niche or regional concerns. Yeah, I think that's self-explanatory because this is something that really happened to, black farmers. I'm also going to be talking about the myth of white independence in farming. For decades, white farmers promoted a narrative of rugged individualism and self-sufficiency, even as their farms were heavily subsidized by the government and dependent on cheap immigrant labor. Now that the immigration system is being disrupted, often due to policies white voters supported, they are facing the reality of that dependency. The complaints from white farmers reflect a kind of cognitive dissonance, a reckoning with the contradictions between the myth of independence and the reality of economic reliance on the undocumented workers. I'm also going to be talking about political contradictions and backlash. A significant number of white farmers supported Donald Trump's headline stance on immigration, expecting it to affect urban communities or others. Yet, those same policies talk about deportation, ICE raids, and restrictive visa quotas have hit agriculturally labor supply chains hard, particularly in sectors like fruit picking, dairy and meat processing. Many white farmers are now voicing regrets or frustration, but they are doing so within a political ecosystem than they themselves have to create. I'm also going to talk about silence among black farmers as a form of political clarity. Black farmers have historically had no illusions about where they stand in America's racial and economic hierarchies to begin with. They have long understood that policies, decisions, especially those made by white majority voting blocs, rarely prioritize their interest. Their relative silence in this moment may reflect less economic immunity and more ardent awareness. They were already excluded and continue to struggle under a system that never prioritized their survival. In this line, I'm also going to be talking about demographic shifts and labor practices. Remember, the modern U.S. agricultural labor force is made up of predominantly Hispanic immigrants, particularly from Mexico and Central America. These workers are concentrated in areas dominated by large-owned farms. In contrast, black farmers often located in Southeast are less likely to engage in labor-intensive produce farming that requires hired seasonal help. Instead, they may grow staple crops, raise livestock, or pursue alternative agricultural practices that are more sustainable with limited labor. Talk about the invisibility of black agricultural labor. Even black farmers do employ workers. They often do so on a much smaller and less visible scale. The operations are not typically part of, the operations are not typically part of the national supply chain in ways that will attract media attention when disrupted. Now, in many cases, their farm is more community-based or subsistence-based, which allows them to fly under the political and regulatory radar. Talking about reparations and the question of justice, there is a growing movement among black farmers and their advocates calling for reparative policies. reparatives policies, including land grants, debt cancellation, and guarantee access to USDA programs. To address the historical theft of black agricultural wealth, unlike white farmers who are now publicly lamenting labor shortages, black farmers are more likely to be organizing around justice, restitution, and land sovereignty than simply reacting to immediate labor distractions. Let's talk about white victimhood and weaponization of crisis. When white farmers suffer due to political choices they supported, the response is often to seek emergency government assistance, bailouts, or exemptions, such as those provided during Trump's tariffs war with China. Black farmers, on the other hand, have rarely been afforded the luxury of being perceived as worthy victims. Their pain is not seen as an agricultural emergency, but rather as a persistent background, a condition of American inequality. I'm your host and presenter Eugene Talk Stories. Please let me know what you think about this video. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.